So at the time I am currently doing this video, it is still Sunday, but it's going to come out on a Monday. So we know on Wednesday we are going to get the budget, the first budget of the year, and at least they're the hopes, the very very much hope that somehow this budget will move the polls somehow and narrow them, because the Tories really have two chances. They've got this budget now, and they've got the May local elections to see if they can move the needle somehow. But the question is how? How do you do this? Because you've got Tories on one side that are saying, look, you've got to cut taxes, but how can you when the country is in such a bad state? And we all remember what happened to Liz Truss when she cut taxes, because you've got to try and, fill that gap somehow. Now, one of the new plans that we've been hearing recently is that they might now decide to ditch the non-dom status. Now, the question is, will they or will they not? Because a lot of, shall we say, the big Tory donors are non-doms. So do they do this, upset a lot of the big Tory donors just for an election, and then hopefully, again, fingers crossed, they somehow win this and then undo it when they're back in power? It's a possibility. The other thing, of course, is this a problem for Labour? Because after all, Labour have been saying, hey, we're going to, cancel the non-dom status. I don't think it's that big a problem for Labour at all. Because now you can turn around and just say, well, whenever Rishi Sunak or one of the Conservatives turns around and said, Labour's got no policies, you could just turn around and go, well, actually, we do have policies, but it just seems you keep on stealing them. And you just go, so clearly our policies must not be that bad if the Conservative Party keeps on stealing them. So there is, I think, a lot of interesting things that are going to happen as a result of this. Is this actually going to move? Is this going to be the rallying point that the Conservative MPs can somehow rally around and, go forward into the next election and somehow narrow the gap, narrow the polls, and, I don't know, hope for a lesser defeat? Because even they think they know that they are going to lose. And it has all been about, and Rishi Sunak especially coming in, we've talked about this before, we've even heard Conservative MPs themselves talk about this, that what they need now is maybe not to win the next general election, but to lose in a good way, meaning that they are at least still somewhat a viable opposition. That's the hope. And I think to do that, they've said they need round about at least 150, 160 seats. But you look at polling, the polling at the moment is round about roughly 100 or so seats. And then you've got the problems of there's the different type of contest you'll have throughout the country. You will have, Labour versus Conservative, in some seats. But the other big one that is going to be quite significant going into the next general election is going to be the Conservative versus the Liberal Democrats, because that is going to have an impact. And of course, you've got the fact you've got Reform UK running. And you've still got that unanswered question, will Nigel Farage jump back into the fray? Or will he maybe not run for a Reform UK, but will he be out there championing Reform UK? I think that's probably what he will end up doing, being some sort of cheerleader in a way. You've also had other interesting points of where you've had Labour looking at everything that Liz Truss has been doing and saying in America, and stuff like that. And then you've had recently Conservatives come out and literally say, God, we wish that she would shut up, just stop talking. And it's kind of shocking. No one has, stopped her. It's kind of shocking that that conversation sort of hasn't happened, or if it has happened, she has ignored it. So we'll see. But the other thing that people keep on talking about is that Rishi Sunak seems to be stuck in this doom loop. That no matter what seems he does or he tries, something bad just keeps on happening. And he just ends up in this doom loop because you had all the Lee Anderson stuff very recently. He had to come out and do this speech about extremism. And it's pleased no one, which now means that the Tory party, I think this is something that Labour should absolutely push, that they've now regained the moniker of the nasty party. Because remember, Suella Braverman said some very similar comments to Lee Anderson. She's still in the party. She's still got the whip. So I think if they could do that, that would scare off, I think, a load of more lefty, moderate Tories who would then either go, well, we're not going to vote for reform, but we'd rather maybe vote for Liberal Democrats, or heck, we might even give this, chap Keir Starmer a try. And ultimately, this will lead to a very, very big defeat for them. And as I keep on, saying this time and time again, the bigger defeat the Tories have, the more free space we get in the next parliament, the one after that, potentially even the one after that, to do and get a lot of really good progressive stuff done. So defeat them. Just defeat the Tories. That's the object at the next election. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, just goes off the table. You defeat the Tories, you deliver them such a monumental defeat that they cannot come back from this for at least a decade or more. And that leaves us with a party that will end up pursuing progressive policies and progressive ideas, because ultimately, as we've said time and time again, the UK public does poll very, very well on a whole different range of progressive policies. Yeah, some of them might not be or go as far as people want, but hey, if you get 40% of what you want, 60% of what you want, that's not a bad thing. Because then you can build on that success and you can take that success forward. And I always point to the example of Canada, Justin Trudeau, making the supply side, making the supply confidence vote that he got with the Liberal Party, and the stuff that they got from that. Sure, they didn't get everything they want, but there's a ton of Canadians that now have dental care who didn't have dental care before because of that. They got a whole range of other stuff that they got from that. So this is another point that I think is going to be, more vital, in the next parliament, that progressives really have to look at where do we fight our battles and at what point and how far do we compromise, and what conversations and policies do we sort of go for and advocate and push for. I think, again, House of Lords reform ultimately would be the one for me. Obviously, Westminster reform, voting reform as well. I think that would be very good. There's a ton of stuff, again, we've talked about before on this channel that I'd love to sort of do and sort of see done. But it's going to be a hard and long push, and it's going to take a lot of effort by the left-wing groups in the Labour Party to get that to happen. And as I always said, that's why you support those different left-wing groups, because you can get that to happen. You can get them to sort of influence the MPs, and the MPs will sort of go and they will sort of rally around that. And this is how you do politics in many ways. But these are fights that are certainly worth having if you want change, and you've got to be in some cases, for some policies, for the long haul. And you are going to lose from time to time. But when you win, you get your policy. And even if, let's say, you get 40%, well, congratulations, you've still got your policy. Now you can start advocating for, look at, how this policy worked, how it was successful. Now you can sort of expand it and work on it even more. But anyway, as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.